Good morning, Miss Suero. Miss Suero, could you kindly turn your microphone off? Miss Suero, could you kindly mute your microphone? Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning again, everyone. We'll start now. My name is Kaling, and I am a member of the RiceStrawPH team here at IRRI. Welcome to this webinar. This webinar is one of the culminating activities of the RiceStrawPH project. Before we begin, we would like to request for your patience to please bear with us in case there will be delays in the video presentations or any intermittent in our connection during the event. And in this event, we will provide certificate to all our participants, especially to those who have registered. Earlier, we also have posted the house rules, and I would like to reiterate them. This webinar will be recorded. If you have questions, you may post your question as comments via FB Live. And when you ask questions, please identify yourself and your affiliation, and then the questions to the person whom you are asking the question. If possible, please refrain from asking similar questions. You may also ask live questions via Zoom. by raising your hand, which can be found at the participants menu at the bottom. And then please keep your microphones muted and your video off throughout the event. All videos shown in this event will be uploaded on YouTube playlist. Again, we will be providing certificates for participation for those who have registered in the event. This webinar will be also streamed in IRRI and Corrigal Facebook page, and we would like to know the location of our audience here. So please log in to menti.com, it was flashed earlier, and enter the code that you can see on the screen and let us know where you are coming from. We'll see the results at the end of this seminar. So we all know rice straw is one of the most undervalued resources, and it is commonly burned after harvest for easy disposal to prepare the field for the next cropping season. But why burn when we can use them to earn money? The RiceStrawPH Project is a 3-year project funded by the Department of Agriculture, Bureau of Agricultural Research. It was launched in 2018 to develop technologies and practices for the productive and sustainable use of rice straw. Let us watch the video to witness the research outcomes of the project.
Okay.
Kada taon, 11 milyong tonelada ng dayami ang naiiwan o sinusulog sa palayan upang madaling maihanda ang lupain sa susunod na taniman. Ang pagsulog ng dayami ay magiging sanhi ng polusyon pagkawala ng sustansya ng lupa. Ang RiceStrawPH Project ng DA-BAR, IRRI, Philippine Rice Research Institute at Philippine Carabao Center ay sumasaliksik ng tuluyang paggamit ng dayami upang makabawas sa epekto ng polusyon at kumita ang mga magsasaka. Mga nagawa: makabagong makinarya upang mas mapabilis ang pagkolekta ng dayami upang makarating sa merkado. Halos 40% ng gastos ang mapabawas sa paggamit ng mga makabagong paraan.
Malaking ikatulong doon. Una, makulikta ng quantities, madali makulikta. So, it's very easy. And then mag-storage sa concentrate. And then kung every association, kung mayroong isang boiler or something like that, hindi na lang lahat makagat.
Ang paggamit ng dayami bilang taniman ng kabuti, aaaring magkaroon ng karagdagang kita o masasalang na nalipot. Ang paggamit ng dayami ng halaw sa urea ay mabisang agad ang pagkain ng alangang lupa. Maaaring kumita ng karagdagang 33% sa mga alagang kalabaw para sa milk production at 17% para sa palakihing kalabaw o baka. Ang paggamit ng makinarya gaya ng furnace or batch biogas ay malaking tulong upang mabawasan ang polusyon at magamit sa pagsasaka. Ang mga rekomendasyon ay mula sa masusing pananaliksik at nakahilig sa mga batas na may layunin na palakasin ang sektor ng agrikultura at protektahan ang kapakanan ng mga magsasaka. Ang DA-BAR, Philippine Rice Research Institute at Philippine Carabao Center at iba pang ahensya ay patuloy na magtutulungan upang mas mapaunlad ang sektor ng agrikultura sa bansa sa gitna ng unos at pandemya.
Thank you, Otep. We would like to remind our participants to please mute your microphone so that we could hear clearly what is being presented and also what is being said. Yeah, again, I'd like to remind everyone in the room to please mute your microphone or turn off your mic. Thank you. Okay, as shown in the video, you have seen in the video that there are many uses of rice straw in many profitable, environment-friendly way. And we will be hearing more about that from our speaker. We will also elicit insights from our distinguished panelists who will play a key role in facilitating innovations and sustainable rice straw management in the country. At this moment, we would like to invite our co-project leader, Engineer Martin Gummert, to report the highlights of the RiceStrawPH project.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, Martin.
Okay. Okay, good morning to everybody. Good morning from Germany. I'm still on sort of COVID exile in Germany. And it's a great pleasure for me to see so many participants, partners from our government institutions in the Philippines.
Martin, you're muted at the moment.
Okay.
We can hear you again. That's fine.
Okay. Okay. Good morning again to all the participants from different institutions, project partners, and I also saw that there are some farmers here and decision makers from the Philippine government. So it's a great pleasure to be here. What I will do in the next 15 minutes is give you an overview on the highlights of the project to set the scene for the discussion. And as Carling has already mentioned, the project is funded by DA-BAR. It was a 3-year project from 2018 to 2020. And the seminar is a little bit of a first in many ways, in the way we do that with a webinar and then also trying to stream to a broader audience via Facebook. And it's also a first in terms of having an event like this at the end of a project that focuses on decision makers and policy makers and tries to convey the messages that the project has produced. And so it's a great pleasure to be here. I will try to share my screen now for the presentation. Can you see it?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Yes.
So as I have mentioned, the project was a 3-year project. It's coming to an end this year, and this is sort of the last event. There were 3 institutions involved as major implementers, FIRRICE, and you can see the key researchers, Dr. Cesar Tado, Dr. Elmar Bautista, and Dr. Risa Gonzalez from FIRRICE. Another partner is the Philippine Carabao Center with Dr. Arnel del Barrio and Dr. Daniel Aquino. And then a team from IRRI. The IRRI team was led by Dr. Nguyen Van Hung. And there were a number of other partners too, which were involved, like UPLB and others. And oops. Okay. The objective of today is really to present to you the major outputs of the project, to present the RiceStrawPH best practice recommendations and key policy messages that we obtained for sustainable rice straw management in the Philippines. And then in the second round to collect some insights from the various sectors on how to incorporate the research findings into rice-based initiatives in the country. Because at the end of the project, we would like to see uptake of the project outcomes and technologies. And the idea of today is collect some ideas from you, how we could facilitate that. So talking about rice straw management, this slide shows the problems that the project is addressing. We have the different harvesting system. In the previous harvesting system, the straw was sort of collected on a pile, but with the introduction of combine harvesting, it's usually left in the field, and it's difficult to collect. And as a result, farmers are burning a large percentage of the straw. In the beginning, when we started talking about the project, it was said that 80% of the straw in the Philippines is being burned. And the burning has a lot of problems. It causes, for example, pollution, hinders traffic and so on, but it also causes some greenhouse gas emissions. And of course, there are other options like incorporation of the rice straw in the soils. But there's also, because rice is grown under anaerobic conditions, that also causes increased methane emissions. And the other problem is if we just burn the straw, we basically don't add value from using the rice straw. So that's sort of the general set of problems that the project tried to address. And this slide shows some of the options for more sustainable rice straw management that can be used in order to avoid the burning. It's just giving a quick overview. So in the center, you have the rice straw value chain, if you like. This basically, after rice production, the straw being available in the field. And then it can be collected, it can be compacted, stored and transported, processed, and then there are some markets for the rice straw. And the precondition for doing anything from the straw is actually to getting it out of the field. And there are different ways to do that. And so mechanized collection is one of the options. And we have then collection equipment, and we have the whole supply chains for that equipment that we have to think about. On the bottom, you see some of the alternative uses for straw as alternatives to field burning. So one is using the straw for feed in animal production. Another one is using the straw for example, growing mushrooms. There you can use it for composting, and there's a whole lot of different other products that you can produce from straw, biodegradable products and so on. And then of course there's also the bioenergy as one of the potential uses. And so the project basically looked at that different options, and then it was decided to select some of them. And this slide shows an overview of the different work packages of the project. So starting at the bottom, work package 1 was looking at need assessments, and that was done by RiceStrawPH and IRRI. Work package 2 was looking at collection and logistics models for the collection and handling of the straw, because as I mentioned, collecting the straw from the field is a bottleneck, and it's basically a precondition for anything else that you might do. This was done by IRRI and RiceStrawPH. Work package 3 was looking at mushroom production, doing market studies and also improving technologies for mushroom production implemented by RiceStrawPH and IRRI. And then the work package 4 looked at rice straw based ruminant fodder, also looking at markets and improving existing technologies implemented by the Philippine Carabao Center in collaboration with IRRI. And work package 5 looked at bioenergy from rice straw, developing technologies and doing some feasibility studies done by IRRI, UPLB, and RiceStrawPH. And across all that different work packages, there was another work package looking at, when we talk about sustainable options, we also need to quantify what methodology or what practice is more sustainable than another one. So the work package 6 was looking at conducting life cycle assessments for that different rice straw management options in order to generate the data about sustainability and for recommendations for policy and decision making. So that's how the project looked like. I would like to present to you now sort of the key messages, and then in the following slide, I will go a little bit and talk about the background for those messages. The key messages resulting from the research were three. The first one is, and those messages are included in the document that was sent to you in advance, the brief on sustainable rice straw management. So message number one is that scale appropriate mechanized and improved logistics of rice straw collection can reduce the supply chain cost up to 40% compared to traditional ways of collecting and getting the straw. So there's very serious cost reduction here. The second message is using the rice straw for ruminant feeds can improve ruminant nutrition, resulting in increased income by 33% for milking buffaloes and increased income by 70% for growing buffaloes, for example, for meat production or as draft animals. And the third major message, key message, is using rice straw for growing mushrooms can generate extra gross income of 250,000 pesos to 750,000 pesos, depending on the process that you use from straw produced in a hectare of rice production. So very significant value adding for potential for farmers. So those are the messages, and I give you now a little bit of the background on those. So one of the first activities of the project were looking at the status of the current rice straw management, and that included, for example, looking at different farming situations. You see on the right, you see the relationship between field size in hectares and the use of combine harvesters. As I said in the beginning, combines are really the one of the major sources for the problem with the field burning, because they leave the straw in the field. And you can see there's a positive correlation. The larger the field size, the more likely it is that combines are being used. So for smaller fields, still mostly manual harvesting. For larger fields, shift towards combine harvesting. And why is that? On the left, you can see the harvesting cost. If you do the manual harvesting, that is still very common. It costs the farmers up to $300 per hectare. And by using a combine service, the cost is significantly reduced, more than 50% reduced, to $100 to $120 per hectare. So there is a very clear trend towards combine harvesting, driven by labor shortage and the resulting high costs. The project then also looked at, and these studies were done in collaboration between FIRRICE and the IRRI team. And the study looked then at 6 different regions and looked at what is happening with the straw at the moment. And as you can see, field burning is still very much practiced in areas like Nueva Ecija and Bukidnon, but in other areas it has been mostly replaced by incorporation. And there's also other uses for feed and for others, but it's not very dominant yet. And as I mentioned, incorporation is one option, but it has other problems like high methane emissions. And in order to quantify some of the benefits of the different management options and look at sustainability, life cycle assessment was used. And this is one of the outputs of that. It's a quite complicated graph, but basically you have different parameters that you can look at. Like yields, like rain quality, energy balances, greenhouse gas emissions, and human toxicity. And in color coded, you see the results for the different options. So this one was looking at burning, the field burning as a reference, what we want to avoid. It was looking at complete incorporation of the straw, complete removal of the straw, and using it for other purposes. For the calculation here, it was assumed that it was used to generate energy, and partial removal in the straw. And you can see, which was very much expected, it's not much effect on yield. basically no effect on grain quality, which is also kind of expected. But then if you look at the net energy balance, if you burn the straw, obviously you lose a lot of potential energy that you could use otherwise. So that is lower than in the alternative options. And when we talk about greenhouse gas emissions, the incorporation has the highest emissions because of the anaerobic processes, high methane emissions. Burning has also elevated emissions. And if you remove the straw, you can significantly reduce the emissions. And human toxicity, obviously the burning, because it creates a lot of poisonous material that is then around, has the highest toxicity. And the toxicity is removed in the other options. It's lowest in incorporation because the assumption is that when you remove the straw, you use it for bioenergy use. You also have some emissions there. So using life cycle assessments, we can basically quantify what practices are more sustainable than the traditional methods. And talking about then the straw collection as a precondition for doing anything else with the straw. So there are different technologies around, and two of the ones that were evaluated by the project are different types of balers. So there are small round balers that make relatively small bales in circular form, and then there are the square balers. The square bales are a little bit bigger, a little bit heavier. And on the right, you can see some analysis done by the project on the cost of using that equipment for baling the straw and getting it out of the field. And you can see that there are very different costs associated with the different machines. So basically the square baler in scattered straw left by combine harvesters has the lowest cost, while the round baler collecting straw from a piled up by a thresher has the highest cost. So data like that was generated and is available for basically making decisions on the right equipment. Accomplishments by RiceStraw on rice straw collection. There were a lot of demonstrations conducted in the field, a total of 6 in the 6 different sites, and a total of 500, close to 600 participants, including extension workers, farmers, and other target groups like ruminant raisers and mushrooms growers and entrepreneurs participated. And then RiceStraw also looked at, on the bottom of the list, now in the top, looked at localizing the balers. So a prototype was produced of a round baler and different other equipment for the other components, which I will come to. Okay, so we have coming back to sort of the rice straw value chain and the different options. So the big question is then, how can we optimize the logistics? So we have the rice straw in the field, we have some balers around. How can we match the supply and the demand of both the equipment for collecting, but also of the rice straw and the processing? So what the project looked at was adapting an app that was originally developed as a prototype for scheduling of harvesting operations of combine harvesters called Easy Harvest, and adapting that for the use for optimizing the logistics of rice straw collection. And so the system consists of an app for end users who are needing a service, for example, for collecting rice straw or for asking for a combine harvester for harvesting their field. And also an app for machinery owners that allows them to manage their equipment. And the app then basically calculates, it's a little bit like Uber or Grab in the transport sector. It's basically the same principle for the use of agriculture machinery, in particular for, in this case, for rice straw management and harvesting. And this app at the moment is being piloted at the Philippine Carabao Center with a few machines that are available there. And yeah, that pilot is ongoing. Next major area of activities is mushroom production, using the rice straw for mushroom production. So the first activity was really looking at training materials that are were already available from a similar project in Vietnam, and adapting that to the needs in the Philippines. And then that was accompanied by a group of partners from the Philippines going on a study tour to Vietnam and learning more about rice straw mushroom production from the situations in Vietnam. And FRICE then was in collaboration with IRRI, working on different activities like conducting a market study and improving the cultivation technology. And in the table, you can see on the bottom the Vietnamese practice, and then different practices that were tested at FRICE, in particular with respect to preparing the rice straw for mushroom production. And you can see that the biological efficiency was significantly improved compared to the benchmark of the practices used in Vietnam. And those practices evaluated are now available for mushroom growers in the Philippines. There was a technology transfer training and rice straw production in Negros Occidental, and that was also participated by extension workers, rice farmers, and mushroom growers in order to start scaling out some of the project results. This slide shows a little bit some key data about the value adding. So basically the bars start with the day 1 of mushroom harvesting. And you can see that over 18 days, basically every day, the producers can harvest some mushrooms, in the beginning larger amounts, and at the end smaller amounts. The total yield achieved was 24 kilograms mushrooms per ton of straw. And that led to an additional income of 5,000 pesos per ton of straw, and a value added to rice production of 2,000 to 4,000 pesos per hectare. And there's also potential additional value adding by adding value to the mushrooms, by drying them and converting them into a high value product with a premium price, and different types of dryers for doing that were evaluated in the project as well. For example, a cabinet dryer for mushroom drying was developed as FRICE and evaluated, and a modified solar bubble dryer was also tested at IRRI. Just briefly about the solar bubble dryer. So you might have heard about that. It's basically consists of a long solar tunnel with 2 plastic films that are inflated. The top plastic film is transparent, so the sunlight enters the drying tunnel, heats up the air, and then the heated air dries the mushrooms. And for this was originally developed for grains, and for the mushroom drying, sort of a perforated false floor was developed on which the mushrooms are placed. And so the air then basically streams over the mushrooms and through the mushrooms, and therefore you get a very efficient drying process. And on the graph on the bottom, you can see basically it took a few hours on the first day from the dryer was filled in after lunch, and then a second day, and the mushrooms were dried with very good quality and protected from the environment and from animals and so on. So this is one way that additional value can add it to the rice straw mushrooms. For sustainable, for ruminant fodder, the Philippine Carabao Center looked at different options. So this also in the different project sites in 6 different regions, and that are listed below. And the project looked at also doing market studies on for rice straw-based ruminant fodder, developing protocols for improved pre-treatment of the rice straw, production of urea molasses treatment for rice straw, and some feeding trials, and then also some capacity building for farmers at the project sites. And from the market studies, basically in the 6 regions, the process was looking at the area of rice planted, looking at the volumes of harvest, And from that, I think there's some numbers there. Yeah. From that, looking at the rice straw yield from the rice production, and then looking at the fodder requirement and matching that data. And yeah, in the 6 regions, you can see it's a total of more than 1 million hectares, which leads to the production of 14 million tons of rice straw, 14,000 metric tons of rice straw, and the need to feed around 1.7 million animals. And in terms of the processing, this is a bit of a complicated slide. And on the left side, you have sort of the current situation with rice straw as ruminant and production and utilization of rice straw. And then limitations of rice straw as a ruminant fodder if we just use the straw as is, which is low protein contents, high lignin and silica contents, low digestibility, and poor animal performance. And by using the pre-treatment, urea molasses treated rice straw, a lot of benefits can be achieved. And one of them is improved nutrient composition of the straw, so increase of the protein level, almost double the protein level, better digestibility of the straw, and that leads basically to better animal performance, better feed intake, and then also an increased average total gain of the animals by around 20 or 40%, and all of that leads to increase of incomes of farmers by around 33%. So yeah, basically by applying that technology, very easy way to increase the incomes from raising carabaos. So very quickly, a summary of the achievements. The planned outputs of the projects consisting of need assessments for the different components, focus on mechanized collection as a precondition for the using the rice straw, bioenergy, mushroom production, ruminant feed, and the market studies have been obtained. I did not report on bioenergy here because there was some activities there looking at producing biogas from rice straw, but those were initial studies. They need a lot of further studies before that can be scaled out. So we felt this is not really relevant yet for scaling out project results. So we have not included that in the presentation. The project won the Los Baños Research and Development Award in 2019. So it was seen that the science in the project was outstanding. And some of the key outputs, outcomes are that, for example, farmers in Mindanao and in the Visayas have asked for the balers to be included in the government mechanization program. I think that's a very positive outcome if the end users are already asking for assistance with scaling out the technologies. The project had quite a big capacity building component. So there were UPLB students, 2 doing an MSc and 1 ongoing doing a PhD, and about 1,000 farmers and local partners trained in the project on these different technologies. It had quite good scientific impact. So 6 papers in peer-reviewed journals, and 4 are already published and 2 are under internal review. And then there was a book on sustainable rice straw management, the first book ever on that topic, published, which was very significant contribution from the project. And in terms of the likely impact, value adding to rice production from rice straw products, it's quite obvious that is one of the very promising impacts. And then there's also business propositions for service provision, for example, for a contract service for balers, for off-farm activities, and like the mushroom production and so on, and opportunities for the youth to engage in those business models. Talking about the book, so very briefly, so it's on sustainable rice straw management, summarizing results from different projects, including this one. And yeah, the names on there are names of the editors, so they are actually not so important. What is important is the authors and the co-authors. They came from different countries, and you can see that from the Philippines, Philippine Carabao Center for Rice, UPLB, and CLSU have all contributed to different chapters of this book, and partly they are also lead authors. Okay, where next? So we have actually taken the outputs of this project and looked at what needs to be done next. And a project proposal for a follow-up project was formulated, and having different outputs. One is sort of upgrading the rice value chains, rice straw value chains, with technologies that have been explored in this project. Output two is looking at business technologies and business models for mushroom production and scaling them out. Output three, technologies and business models for rice straw feed production and scaling those out. And then output four, this is new. The project has focused on mushroom production, rice straw for animal feed and bioenergy because it was limited in scale. But in the meantime, we have also evaluated mechanized composting options and biodegradable products from rice straw in other projects. And this is proposed for the next phase. And then continuation of the app and database development for the rice straw logistics. And so that was submitted for the next funding cycle of the IRRI, and we will have to see whether that will be considered for funding starting the next year. Take-home message for decision makers and policy makers, just a few. So in establishing innovations in rice straw collection increases the value of rice production and the rice straw. Optimized rice straw logistics will ensure to target markets. So easy harvest can be one of the ways to do that. Processing rice straw for mushroom cultivation improves the livelihoods and by providing additional income opportunities. Enhancing rice straw utilization benefits for livestock farmers through sustainable use of rice straw, and utilizing rice straw for bioenergy can limit the impacts of climate change by reducing greenhouse gas emissions compared to field burning and so on. But as I said, this one is still very much in the research stage and not yet for scaling. So the objectives of the seminar is to present the rice straw best practice recommendations and the key policy messages for sustainable rice straw management in the Philippines. And I have just tried to do that. And you also have the handout that was distributed to you with those key messages and some more details on them. And the next task, and that's your task, is basically to collect some insights from the different sectors, private and public, from farmers, from policy and decision makers, on how to incorporate the research findings into rice-based initiatives in the Philippines. And I'm very much looking forward to your feedback on those and to the discussions. And with that, thank you very much. And I would like to hand back to our Master of Ceremonies, Kaling. And if you have any further information, requests for further information after that this seminar, you can also contact the key researchers of the different institutes involved. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Martin, for that presentation and for setting the scene. As Martin mentioned, the project has done many activities which were backed up by research. We conduct research in order to make products of innovation highly useful to our farmers and end users. And in this webinar, we want to highlight the key policy recommendations based on scientific evidences to harness sustainable rice straw initiatives in the country. At this point, we would like to elicit discussion among our partners and value chain actors in order for us to chart the pathway for sustainable rice straw management in the country. We will hear from our distinguished panelists what they have to say. Earlier, we also distributed copies of the RiceStrawPH policy brief to our registered participants and provided forms to fill in questions ahead of time, which we will read later. For now, let us hear from our panelists what they have to say first before we proceed to question and answer and the discussion.
Salamat.
Again, we would like to remind everyone to please unmute your microphone and turn off your video while the webinar is ongoing. Our first panelist is the Honorable Senator Francis Kiko Pangilinan. He is a legislator and a passionate farmer. He is the author of Sagip Saka Act, an advocacy program that has raised the incomes of farmers by modernizing agricultural process from pre to post-production. Unfortunately, Senator Kiko can't join us at this moment, but we would be hearing his insight about this project. And we would like to thank Senator Kiko for opening his office to further discuss future pathways that will potentially lead to legislative acts supportive to sustainable rice straw management in the country. They will surely motivate the farmers and us here to harness rice straw initiatives in the country through research and development. Let us hear this message from Senator Kiko Pangilinan.
I'd like to greet everyone a good day. And I'd like to thank the International Rice Research Institute for inviting me as one of the reactors on the RiceStraw Philippine project. I would like to thank IRRI for taking into consideration the Sagip Saka Act, which aims to increase the income of small holder farmers and encouraging them to pursue entrepreneurship and enterprise development as a means of moving out of subsistence farming. This pandemic has proven the resilience of Philippine agriculture and the importance of food security, especially during the crisis. When Filipinos flock to grocery stores and supermarkets in the urban centers and their trusted wet markets to stock up before the start of the lockdown last March, one of the greatest concerns and anxiety is that where to get our food. That's why it caused such an outrage when there were pictures on social media showing vegetables being thrown away because farmers could not access the markets. A lot of people want their food, especially fresh and nutritious, but due to quarantine restrictions, they have limited means of accessing them. The response of some Filipinos, in turn, was to do urban gardening. Growing one's own food has become popular in the past 6 months, and there have been a big clamor for seeds. Suddenly, food, farming, access to healthy food, and the ability to be able to secure our food became front and center. Local government units have also responded to the challenge of providing food aid for their constituents through direct purchasing of agricultural products from farmers and agriculture cooperatives. That's the spirit of Sagip Saka. It was hitting two birds with one stone. The LGUs were able to access sources of rice, vegetables, and other products immediately, and farmers were able to access the markets and earn despite the pandemic, cutting them away from most of their markets. In fact, the DA reported that for the first time in history, over 400 local governments were able to purchase some 6 billion worth of agri and fishery products directly from farmers and farmers cooperatives and associations. The LGUs also purchased rice in better prices. Usually middlemen would purchase rice at 13 to 17 pesos per kilo during the pandemic, but the LGUs priced it as much as 19 pesos, increasing the income of farmers during the pandemic. Imagine if we even had, if we were able to add even more value to rice farming, for example, through the utilization of wastage from harvests, such as rice straws. We laud this effort. This is money being burned, for lack of a better term, and thrown away unless we are able to have the technology to use it. If farmers could pursue farm enterprise focusing on value adding, multi-cropping, why not? Through the prompt response of LGUs and the DA, we were able to ensure that farmers would have continued incomes despite the pandemic. I am told that an additional gross of 250,000 to 750,000 from growing mushrooms, for example, using rice straws, would be a big help in lifting our farmers from poverty. A March 2020 article from the Phnom Penh Post says that the Mekong Delta rice farmers are earning as much as 63 pesos per kilo of rice straw. That's even bigger, more expensive than rice itself. Or the cost per kilo is even higher than the rice itself. Their income averages from 1,400 to 1,900 pesos from rice straws per hectare. Farmers also cultivate rice straw mushrooms and earn as much as 63,000 to 83,000 pesos per 1,000 square meters per month of mushroom crop. Remember that even pala in the Philippines is only worth 17 to 19 pesos per kilo. Most don't even make use of rice straws and just resort to burning what would have been 63 pesos per kilo additional income. If Vietnam can do it, or Cambodia, we certainly can too. We have to make the most agriculture in the sense that nothing of value should go to waste. Burning of rice straws has always been a prevalent scene in the Philippine countryside. It is a distinctive smell that you can sniff kilometers away. But it is time to learn these practices. Why burn rice straws when you could have, when you can profit from it? We support IRRI and the DA in encouraging sustainable straw management in the Philippines and ensuring that our farmers are provided with even more options for increased incomes. Our office is open to any legislative measure that should support this endeavor, and you have our full commitment that we will pursue this on the Senate floor. Again, congratulations and thank you for this invitation. May we have more income for our rice farmers, for our agriculture sector, by utilizing what today is waste and turn it into added income for our farmers. Maraming salamat. Thank you very much.
Maraming salamat din po, Senator Kiko, and to your team, to your office for extending this pre-recorded message of insights from you. Our next panelist is Dr. Jonathan Santiago. He is the planning officer and the senior technical planning officer of the Department of Agriculture. He will share the insights from the office of the Undersecretary Designate for Livestock. Dr. Sabiniano, may we hear from you your insights now, please?
Hello, good morning to everyone. Am I clear?
We can hear you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, good morning again. In behalf of Undersecretary William Medrano, I would like to congratulate IRRI and its collaborators in the success of this research. Truly, this is a very welcoming research for the livestock industry. And in behalf of the National Livestock Program, we would like to also extend our much thank for this endeavor. Okay. In terms of rice production, it was estimated that rice was planted in an area of about 1.194 million hectares, and approximately about 20 metric tons or million metric tons of this are rice straw. And as mentioned earlier by Martin, 60 to 80% of it is being burned, in an open field, and 20 to 40% of it is utilized as fodder for ruminants. and other uses. It is also noted also that 90% of the livestock farmers use the rice straw as animal ration, about 13 to 15% of their animal ration. And then 90% of the livestock farmers are willing to buy this rice straw as fodder for their livestock or as beddings, for mushroom production. However, there are certain limitations for this rice straw collection and utilization. One is the inefficiency of collection due to the manual collection of this rice straw. Storage problems because of the collected rice straws are still wet. And at the same time, if we use this rice straw as fodder for ruminants, some of its nutritional contents are very low, as well as its digestibility. And also it produces low animal performance. However, when we subject this to urea molasses treated treatment, the resulting nutrient composition is improved, and as well as the animal performance, as mentioned by Martin a while ago. So there is an increase in daily feed intake by 12%, improve in the daily gain or average daily gain about 20% to 40% when used in total mix ration. Also, it is also very important as of now, there's increase in milk yield from 777 kilograms to 924 kilograms in 210 days lactation. So this research is very helpful for our livestock industry, particularly in the ruminant sector. Also, one of the strategic objectives of the National Livestock Program is to strengthen the feed resources development by working with SUCs and related research institutions for alternative feed sources, in which this project is really coinciding with our strategic objectives. So this project's outcome can truly help the livestock raisers in terms of reducing the cost of production, of course, with readily available feed ingredients such as the rice straw, and also providing the required nutrients for livestock with improvement in feeding value, as presented a while ago by Mr. Martin, and increasing their income. In terms of helping rice farmers, we can help them by turning their trash into cash, as well as protecting the environment. So this is a very holistic. This is a research which is very holistic in approach. Although the link, one more link is missing, which is the transfer of this technology, so that we can make use of what this project is aimed for. Although a while ago, Mr. Martin also presented the second phase of this project. So we will be awaiting this second phase, and in the part of the National Livestock Program, we are really welcoming this research and the application of this research for our livestock industry. And that would be all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sabignano, for your meaningful insights and for your support to our undertaking. Next, let us hear from Dr. Reynaldo Lantin, former professor in UPLB at the College of Agricultural Engineering and Agriculture technology. And he is a member of the Coalition for Agricultural Modernization, an advocacy group of esteemed agriculture professionals and farmer leaders that aim to forward initiatives on agricultural modernization in the country. Dr. Ray?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. First of all, I would like to congratulate Martin Gumert and his staff for conducting this fine research. The technologies have been developed along three major uses of rice straw. And his last message was, it's now up to us to grab it, make use of the research results, and apply it in our own places. It should not be, in my own assessment, it should not be like Mona Lisa. These technologies are piled at the doorsteps, and they just lie there, should not lie there, and should not die there. Instead, they should be utilized. And who are the movers of this? The mover, especially in our system, are the LGUs, supported by DA. Now, in the provinces of Laguna and, of Quezon and Batangas, CAMP has advocated and has been through. Also in Ilocos Norte, there are three provinces, Ilocos Norte, Quezon, and Batangas, who are within the, what you call the province-led extension program of DA. So DA has the full support among these three provinces, and CAMP expects or hopes that this will be expanded to other provinces, especially in the rice-producing countries, to make use of these technologies. It involves systems engineering. In other words, there are players in the system to make it work. And the first of that, it starts with agricultural machinery manufacturing. And the AMDA, the Agricultural Machinery Manufacturers and Dealers Distributors Association, would play a leading role in production or in supplying such machinery. And I am thinking of the straw baler. The straw baler is the missing link. It has been the missing link for the failure of past efforts in mushroom growing, because people or farmers or whoever wants to grow mushroom wouldn't like just to collect. It's a very laborious thing to collect and use it for mushroom growing. Whereas if you have it baled and ready for use, it will be a very good resource on which to grow mushroom. Mushroom growing has been was started way back in 1950s at the UPLB, then revived by IRRI itself, 1970. Yet they were not sustainable. They were not sustained because of this missing link. And surely now, with the agricultural machinery of mechanizing straw baling, this will be now a reality. So in sustainability, the players, as I said, will be the machinery suppliers, of course, the farmer himself, producer, the service provider using the machinery of the straw baler, combined perhaps with the service provider for harvesting. This harvesting by combine is already in place. And the others are transporting the bales to the user. And of course, the end of this is the user itself. The users are the ones that will provide the income of the farmers, because eventually they will pay for the rice straw. But gathering through a chain of value adding. So who are the facilitators of this? The facilitators would be the municipal agriculturist in each LGU, and I hope they have these municipal agricultural engineers who will orchestrate this. They are trained for agriculture and at the same time for engineering to make the system work in a systematic way, of course. Now, before I end this, I'd like to suggest that one of the things that the COVID-19 pandemic had impact is the culture of home gardening, because food, as what Senator Pangilinan said, was the prime concern during the early days of COVID-19 quarantine initiation. So straw could be used for gardening. This is an innovation by Joel Karsten from the University of Minnesota, only recently in 2015. And this was not perhaps included as probably in the list of technologies to be researched on by IRRI, because it was before the COVID-19 was the initiator of this, is the catalyst for home gardening. Home gardening will be just as an expansion of the mushroom growing. Mushroom growing is just a specialized straw bale gardening in a sense. So that is one expansion that maybe Martin has suggested as what is our task, to adapt and apply these technologies. Okay, just to get to what I mean by straw bale gardening, I would like to present a video made by Karsten himself. So just to give an idea, a short video, 4 minutes plus. Thank you.
So here at Nix, they have all sorts of fresh produce, but a lot of us like to grow our own. There are some new and unique ways, and we're going to check one of those out. Straw bale gardening. Who would have ever thought? Our dig-in team in Minnesota has some footage for you.
Hi, I'm Joel Karsten. This garden might look a little bit different than a normal garden. This is a straw bale garden. You'll notice all the straw bales we have laid out. It's very different than a traditional garden where you plant in the soil, but there are lots of advantages to straw bale gardening over traditional gardening. If you think about straw bale gardening as container gardening, think about the straw bale as your container. The outside edges of that straw bale get exposed to the sun and the wind throughout the summer, and they form sort of a crust around the outside edge of that bale, along with the strings. And that crust of the bale, along with the strings, forms the vessel. While the inside of the straw bale, we're going to convert from being what today looks like straw, in a couple of weeks is going to look like planting mix inside of that bale. And we're going to put our vegetable plants right down inside of that bale. And this is the conditioning process. What this process involves is it takes 10 to 12 days in a normal year with normal temperatures, and it involves just using plain old lawn fertilizer. Any kind of lawn fertilizer you buy at the store that has at least 20% nitrogen. Nitrogen is always the first number on the bag of the 3 numbers. At least 20% nitrogen. You want to make sure the fertilizer you buy doesn't have any herbicide, no crabgrass preventer or no weed and feed, anything like that. Just regular old lawn food is what you're looking for. I always tell people, look for the cheap stuff, because that's the stuff that works best. It's more soluble, and you're going to sprinkle it on the surface of the bale. Use about a half a cup per bale, and you just evenly sprinkle it across the surface of the bale. You're going to do this on days 1, 3, 5. After you sprinkle the fertilizer down, you're going to spray it down in there with your sprayer nozzle. Squirt it down into the bale to try to drive that fertilizer down into the bale. That's going to feed the bacteria down inside of that bale, and after a period of 12 days, the bacteria get enough food that they now, instead of demanding nitrogen, they start to give off nitrogen as they start consuming the inside of that bale, start to decompose the inside of that bale. Then when it comes to planting day, you just use normal transplants like you would for any garden. You're going to use a hand trowel. I tell people you can leave all your spade, your hoe, your rototiller all in the garden shed. You just use a hand trowel. You're going to make a little hole down in this bale once it's been conditioned. Put your transplant down inside. You can put a little bit of planting mix around the tomatoes to help seal up any exposed roots. You don't want to leave any roots exposed, just like if you were planting in normal soil. But you'll see the bale's nice and soft inside once it's been conditioned, and it's real receptive to having a plant put down in it. Now we're going to seed this area right here. You first need to put down a layer of potting mix over top of the bale. And I tell people just put as much on as will stay on top of the bale, kind of spread it out from edge to edge and from end to end, and pack it down so it's nice and smooth, and just plant in a checkerboard pattern on the surface rather than planting in rows like we would in a normal soil garden. So if it's 2-inch row spacing for things like carrots, you're going to put the carrot seeds 2 inches apart, but you're going to put them like every white square on a checkerboard and cover the entire surface of the bale with things like carrots. Carrots go really well with tomatoes. You can also plant other plants. I like to do things like herbs. This happens to be Italian oregano, and you can plant herbs and other plants right in the sides of the bale as well. So plant the sides of the bales with annual flowers or with herbs of any kind, whatever your favorites are. That's what I like to do in the sides of my bales, is plant herbs. One of the great things about straw bale gardening is at the end of the season, when you're done using your bales, you can put all your straw bales that are left over into a compost pile. And by the following spring, after you've turned it a couple of times, it makes the most beautiful straw compost that you can use for all kinds of things. To improve other areas of your garden, you can work it into the soil in your perennial garden, in your other annual gardens, annual beds. So that's Straw Bale Gardening 101. If you want more information, you can go to Dig In Minnesota, and you'll find a link there to my website, strawbalegardens.com, where you'll also see my new book, Straw Bale Gardens, which is tell you everything you need to know about the whole process of straw bale gardening.
So that's Joel Karsten of the University of Minnesota. I hope that this straw bale gardening catches on, to include, of course, mushroom. Thank you very much, and good luck.
Thank you very much also, Dr. Ray Lantin. Truly, we can make use of rice straw for gardening too. And as pointed out by Senator Kiko Pangilinan earlier, we want to help our farmers earn extra income, and rice straw can be used to achieve that. Now, we also have our panelists from IRRI. We have Dr. Jean Ballet. He is the Acting Research Director and Agri-Food Policy Platform Leader. Jean?
Yes, good morning for me. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for inviting me. Despite the very early hour for me, as I am joining from France, I am glad to participate in this event, dealing with this very important topic on sustainable rice straw management. I'm glad to be here because I know it is a critical issue in many countries, as rice straw is an example of underutilized resource. While we know we have entered already an era of resource scarcity, so this is actually very topical. I just would like to make a few points, and first, I would like to acknowledge this excellent example of a fruitful collaboration between IRRI and especially our post-harvest team and the Department of Agriculture and field rice in particular, as well as many other Filipino organizations. I'm very glad about that, and I hope it is just, an example to pave the way for future collaborations. On the substance, the negative effects of rice straw burning on the environment and human health are already well documented in the literature, but also in policy arenas. They are also addressed through policy action and legislation, as we have seen in the good video in many countries, including the Philippines. So it seems that the situation is well described, but the policy brief, nicely crafted policy brief in the video already, capture all these fundamental elements. And I, by the way, I want to thank the authors and congratulate them on this excellent work done. I think this project, the various outputs, the reports, the policy brief, make a compelling case, including for non-specialists like me. So we learn that the situation is understood and that solutions exist. So we could really qualify this as a situation where we have a series of missed opportunities, which we have just seen with the video on using rice straw for gardening. So yes, rice straw can be used as fodder for ruminants, stable bedding, substrate for mushroom cultivation, and so on. Raw material for industries, paper making, and now gardening, as well as fuel for cooking. Anyway, many opportunities. It is increasingly easy to collect rice straw, as we have seen also in the documents, because there are technical and mechanical solutions that make it easier to do and cheaper to do. So why isn't it more developed? Why are technologies and alternative use not adopted? There seems to be opportunities to make extra money that are not tapped. Why? There are certainly good reasons that explain the slow or difficult start of alternative and more virtuous rice straw use and management. So I wish we could explore the why question a bit more. There are certainly good reasons for that. I would argue personally that the whole problem revolves around incentives, market, economic, and policy incentives. And on that line, I would like to make basically 4 points. First, it is certainly in part an issue of awareness raising at farmer level. Farmers are probably not yet aware, as the policy brief suggests, but it is also along the value chain and among other private actors that awareness raising needs to happen, I believe, especially regarding the technical feasibility, the economical viability, and the social acceptability of these solutions. So we need to look at these intersection of what is actually technically feasible, economically viable, and socially acceptable. I think this is something that we have perhaps not sufficiently investigated. Second, my take is that farmers are usually rational. They are used to invest their scarce resources in the most profitable or least costly or risky way. So they are not consciously missing opportunities. So what are the key reasons? For me, one of the key reasons seems to make straw seems to be the fact that it is difficult to make alternative straw management absolutely profitable, clearly profitable as a business that is better than any alternative use of farmers' resources, especially their time. So we probably also have to look at that, how to actually make sure that they make a better use of that time through rice straw management alternatives. Farmers usually look at the cost side, including the opportunity cost and the benefits, including risk. We need to be conscious of that. We may find that farmers still prefer to minimize the cost than maximize their profits. It is possible that straw burning is still the most cost-effective option for farmers before straw composting or any other alternatives such as incorporation of rice straw into the field. So we need to look at the cost side and the opportunity cost to try to explain why farmers are not more incentivized to adopt what already exists on the shelf. Third, are things really on the shelf? Are they available to them easily without market barriers? All these technology, are they already easily accessible and easily usable? Are the market and policy incentives sufficient? Are the markets real or still largely missing, as I just said? Is it the case of market failure, where the technologies are actually available in the literature, but not really in practice. When the technology exists and have already been tested successfully in pilot, we have seen that. One could wonder why the private sector initiative does not emerge. We have learned that at the university, no? Where there are profits to be made, well, the private sector emerges. So it doesn't seem to be the case. And that in that space, I think the policy brief and the work I've heard does not yet fully answer the question as to whether the size of the market is such that it would support a profitable business for private businesses, private operators. Taking the example of mushroom, the next step might be to elicit the demand, and fully quantify the demand value, the size of the market we are talking about, and what would be the scale of a market-oriented operation. There might be a need to more carefully consider the opportunity cost of straw management, as I said, and look at the way the labor-intensive task and compared to other alternative use could be assessed. The last point I want to make is about policy. Policy failures might need also to be examined more carefully, although the policy brief points to several policy documents and legislation that are already in place, adopted, and either discourage the bad practices or encourage the good ones, at least at the objective level, if not yet at the policy instrument level. And this is where I would like to bring your attention. I mean, what are the concrete support measures that are in place to increase the level of incentives? What are the clear mechanisms that are policy supported that would help farmers and other operators engage? So going back to the market failures, there might be a need to systematically evaluate the cost effectiveness of adopting selected rice straw management alternatives. And this probably for each rice farm categories, the very small ones, the middle ones, and the larger ones, if any. So and there are also very important trade-offs in these labor and soil health issues that need to be analyzed and quantified. You know, what we call trade-offs are these joint, you know, results, positive and negative, that are associated with adopting one option. So we see that, for example, this case is not specific to the Philippines. India, Bangladesh, Nepal are all facing very similar problems of non-adoption. And while we also see that it depletes soils and create tension. So these are a few thoughts from my side that came to my mind while reading the policy brief and listening to you. My final suggestion would be to seriously think about a very strong policy-related outcome, not only outputs, but really at the outcome level in the next step of this project. And I'm sure that IRRI could engage and support any efforts in that direction. I hope that these few points and thoughts could help stimulate the discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you also very much, John. Clearly, we have to give high importance in raising awareness and looking at markets and illicit demand on it. We need more research to answer the why, and so that we can proceed with the how. And it's very refreshing to hear insights from you on examining mechanisms and incentive mechanisms around rice straw so we can optimize its use. Again, thank you very much. Now we move on to our next panelist. Our next panelist is from the Department of Agriculture, Bureau of Agricultural Research. We would like to invite Mr. Wilson Viloria. Wilson, Mr. Viloria, please. Wilson, are you in the room? Please acknowledge. Okay.
Good morning. Good morning, Sir Kaling. This is Patrick Cabrera, also from BAR.
Yes, Patrick. Yes, please.
I'll be siguro speaking on behalf of BAR na lang din, on behalf of Wilson. Hindi lang ata siya nakapasok sa meeting room. But on behalf of the Bureau of Agricultural Research, we thank the project team, particularly the researchers, scientists from IRRI, from PhilRice, from PCC, and all partners from the provinces and the local government units. So thank you for sharing the outputs and realize immediate outcomes of the projects, particularly the partnerships established at the local levels. We appreciate what has been presented in terms of scientific knowledge and information to really emphasize the importance of having management practices studied and then promoted at the farmer level. My recommendations or comments on the presentation, some of the suggestions or recommendations were already mentioned by our previous panelists. So I'm just zeroing in on other items that can be emphasized on the presentation made. The first one is the technologies generated and studied should have clear utilization pathway or how it can be promoted later on. The team should have identified already or have in mind who to engage in terms of the partnerships, in terms of how we partner with the private sector, group of farmers, the service providers. So that should be taken into consideration to have the technology really positioned and promoted in a holistic manner. The second one is that we must able to align the technologies generated in accordance to what the department has been pushing in terms of farm consolidation and clustering. So therefore this technology should be able to adapt or align to those directions and strategies the department is pursuing in terms of rice production. The F2C2, as coined, the farm clustering and consolidation, aims to cluster a group of farmers to be able to access support interventions by the government in a holistic manner and have them attain the economies of scale in rice production. So therefore, the technology should be able to adapt what are the existing policies and directions the department in partnership with the relevant stakeholders are pushing into in terms of rice production, since it was really highlighted by the secretary as well that one of the strategies in terms of rice industry is the modernization and industrialization. So therefore, the technologies generated here are very well appreciated in terms of how later we can promote these technologies into the industry from the rice and rice-based derived byproducts. So that's it only for the Bureau of Agricultural Research, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Patrick, for that insight from DA Bar. I hope I heard it right, and we are looking forward for another phase of this project. Now, we just heard insights from our distinguished panelists. I think it's now time to proceed with the question and answer portion. There were questions sent from the Facebook Live from our participants and viewers, and some questions sent via email a day before the event. I would like to read some of the questions. One question at Facebook, a Facebook user. I think this question is addressed, or anybody from our partners can also answer the question. The question is the cost of urea molasses treated rice straw is competitive enough to versus traditional feed input for livestock? I'll repeat the question. Is the cost of urea molasses treated with rice straw competitive enough versus traditional feed input for livestock? I think this question is addressed to Philippine Carabao Center. May we request our partner from PCC? Doc Arnel, you are in the room? Or Doc Dan?
Yes, good morning. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you, sir. Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Yeah, as per the question, we can say that the price of a kilogram of urea molasses treated rice straw is lower compared to that of other conserved forages like corn silage. The price that we're getting is about 1 peso 90 centavos per kilo. Now, if you buy corn silage, we're
Doc Dan, you are muted.
hello? Yeah. Is it okay? Hello? Hello? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Yes.
I think the audio is not going good. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you, Doc Dan.
Yeah.
We can hear you.
Yeah. What I am saying is the price of urea treated rice straw is cheaper compared to that of other conserved forages like corn silage. We're buying corn silage at 4 pesos and 50 centavos a kilo. But for this one, it's almost 2 pesos a kilo. Now, in other way, if you increase the concentration of urea in the solution, then it will give a little bit higher, but it's still very cheap compared to that of corn silage. Now, if we talk of a kilogram urea molasses treated rice straw in terms of quality, nutritive value, it has a higher protein content compared to that of corn silage. But in another way, if we look at the energy content, of course, corn silage has higher energy content compared to UMTRS. So what we want to have here is to maximize the recycling of rice straw in here and make it available to livestock, and farmers could get an additional income from this technology. Thank you.
Thank you, Doc Dan, for that comprehensive answer to the question. We would like to remind our participants here in the room, you may also ask questions live. So just click raise hand at the bottom menu under participants, and then you can post your question. So our next question is still from our Facebook user, from John Emmanuel Ruiz. I think the question is still addressed to the Philippine Carabao Center. Can the treated rice straw be used to feed solely for carabaos and goats? Question is, can the treated rice straw be used to feed solely for carabaos and goats?
Hello, again. Thank you very much for the question. You know, urea treated rice straw is just a basal diet. Sabi nga natin, yun ay kanin. But if we talk of animals producing more milk or having a higher growth rate, then kailangan din ng ulam. So as a father, then this serve only as an energy source. Although protein content was increased in terms of treatment, but still we need some supplements, ulam, in the form of concentrates or in the form of legumes. So we need additional protein. So I will repeat, if the animals are on their productive stage, let's say for dairy animals, then we need additional supplement in the form of concentrates or in the form of legumes. The basal fodder should be this UNTRS, urea treated rice straw. Thank you.
Again, thank you, Doc Dan, for that answer. The question is addressed to Phil Rice. Is there a time to use our substrate and why? Please elaborate. Try. Question is, for mushroom product line.
Colin, I think your connection has some issues. Could you turn your video off, please?
Hello.
Yes, I can hear you, but your audio has some issues. Maybe it helps if you turn your video off for a moment.
Okay, I will repeat the question. The question is for our partners from Phil Rice for mushroom.
Colin, this is not working because we cannot hear you clear. Does anybody else have the question? Can anybody else read the question out?
Right. I'll read the question. Kuya Kaling, can you hear me?
Yes, go on.
Okay. The question is addressed to Phil Rice. For mushroom production, is there a study for the ideal time when to use rice straw for our substrate and why? And I think I see our Phil Rice partners in the room or someone from IRRI. Okay.
Anyone from our partners from Rice can answer, please. Anyone from our partner, please.
Hello po. Can you repeat the question? Our mushroom expert from University can hear the question.
Okay, G, I will repeat the question. For mushroom,
I suggest Rayanne answer. Colin, your Kaling, your audio is really bad. I suggest Rayan reads the question again. Rayan, please slowly read the
For
question
mushroom
again.
production.
Okay, I'll read the question again. For our field rice partners, if you can hear me, let me scroll up again. For mushroom production, is there a study for the ideal time when to use rice straw for our substrate, and why? Okay, anyway, we will take note of this question for now and raise it to the concerned field rice expert, and we will get back to you on this. I think we got your name on Facebook, and we will message you separately.
Hello, Ryan.
Yes,
Hi,
whom?
Chumi. Yeah,
Yes. Okay, whom? Can you answer?
yeah. Thanks. I didn't hear you very well, but the question is about when we will use. Can you repeat again the question, because the sound is not very good.
Yeah. The question is about the ideal time when to use rice straw for mushroom as a substrate for growing mushroom.
So why we use rice straw for mushroom substrate?
Yes. And when is the ideal time when to use it?
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, the on principle. So for mushroom production, so they need the organic carbon substrates to grow. So that is the idea came. For example, is in the
Hello, good morning. Hello.
Yes, G.
Hello.
Okay.
Hello.
Okay. Okay. Sorry, sir. Go on po.
Hello. Okay ba yung
Rizal?
audio? Medyo choppy kasi yung dating sa akin.
Yes, sir. We can hear you.
Yes. Okay. Yung the question regarding that time, proper time ba? What's the
Sir.
question? Medyo choppy yung dating kasi sa akin. Paki-repeat yung question.
Is there a study, sir, for the ideal time when to use rice straw for substrate? Has there
Actually,
been any studies?
yeah, our studies is basically you can use rice straw all year round as a substrate. What you need only is to the temperature should be at the range of 28 degrees to 32 degrees. Those are the important things, especially the temperature. So you can use the rice straw substrate whole year round. Okay ba?
Yes, sir.
Got it?
Okay. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Got it.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you. Am I clear now, Ray?
Yes, Kuya. Back to you.
All right. Back. There are questions posted here at the Zoom chat. I will just read it. The question is from our participant, TJ Gonzalez. Our problem lately with rice straw collection is the drying stage. Since it takes few days to dry it up, but due to climate change, there is always an erratic rain even in summer. So my question is there another way to store the straw even if not completely dry? The question is there another way to store the straw even if not completely dry?
Can I? Hello?
Yes, Hung, yes, please.
Okay, thank you. Sorry for my connection was rough in the previous answer. So for this one, on principle, yes, yeah. For example, you can store under the cool condition or cooling down if the moisture content is still high. But that is not economically or economical visibility or option. For the BMZ RiceStraw project in the past, actually it's just 2016 to 2019, we did experiments on rice straw drying using the solar bubble dryer or solar energy, solar flatbed dryer. But anyways, the economic net profit is still very low or not visible, not economically. So what I would suggest is, so we have a technology for wet dry straw collection using the rubber chain wheeler, rubber chain wheel dry straw baler. But the thing is, for wet dry straw, so the only option is we treat in wet condition. It means that we have a technology for composting. So that is the best option to deal with wet straw. So far, that option is the best option in that case. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Hung. Yes, sir. Yes.
Can I add on to that? Yeah,
Yes,
the
sir,
question
please.
is very the question is very good. And for RiceStraw as fodder for livestock, wet straw or partly wet straw is very good for feeding livestock. Actually, if we do this urea molasses with the RiceStraw, then we have to minimize now the use of water in the urea molasses solution, because we have to have a very good level of moisture content during the conservation process or the ensiling process. So if we have wet straw, then there's no problem. If we can collect it very fast, then we can convert this into silage or urea treated rice straw. Now, if we need or if the rice straw is dry, then it's easy to bale and it's easy to store. But if it's wet, then just go on and convert it into urea molasses treated rice straw. Store it for several weeks or months. Then this can be fed to the buffaloes or cattle or goats. So I think there's no such there's not much problem if rice straw is wet, because we can convert this into silage in the form of urea molasses treated rice straw. Thank you.
Thank you, Doc Dan, for the answer. We have another question from our Zoom live participant here at Zoom. The question is addressed to our partners in PhilRice. Is there an effect on the growth of the mushroom if we use the urea treated rice straw? Again, I will repeat the question. Is there an effect on the growth of the mushroom if we use the urea treated rice straw? May we request our partners from PhilRice?
If no one from PhilRice can chime in based on experience in Vietnam.
Okay, Hung, yes, please go ahead.
Okay, so Yeah, for mushroom production, in some case, they still use urea to like a fertilize the substrate for mushroom growing. But however, if we use a lot of urea and with high moisture content, so it will cause a decomposition of rice straw or decay of rice straw of the substrate for mushroom very fast. So on principle, yes, but limited amount. It affects to the substrate quality or growing status or qualities of mushroom. Yeah, hope that is clear. We
Yes,
can for the details number or optimize substrates, how much urea used, we can provide the information later stage. Feel free to send us the email. Yeah.
Thank you, Hung, for that answer.
Morning, si Rizal. Kaling?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Okay. Yung sa the wet rice straw can still be used for mushroom because we need also wet, but the storage is only for short term. So we can store it for maybe about 1 to 2 months because it will already start to decompose. So if it's still wet, immediately we can use this as a substrate for mushroom. Thank you.
Thank you, sir Corrales, for that straightforward answer. We have a question here from our Facebook user from Upaasna Subaran. May I read the question? Question is, straw can contribute to the buildup of organic matter in the soil. All right, so the question is there, it's flashed on the screen. Has a detailed study been conducted on the effect of straw to incorporation on the quality and yield of rice? Anybody from our partners and speaker can answer, please?
Yeah. Hello?
Yes, please go ahead, Sir Rizal.
Yeah, the rice straw incorporation is very good in increasing the organic matter of the soil in the rice paddies. Actually, the use of, say for example, the total rice straw biomass with the 1:1 ratio of grain to straw to grain ratio, using all the rice straw can supplement the needed fertilizers for rice. So in our calculations, field rice can increase actually the yield using the rice straw to about 1 ton per hectare.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
And can I also give some view on that?
Yes, Martin, please go ahead.
Okay, just at IRRI we have long-term trials. These are trials that are going on for 260 cropping seasons or more than that. They are just in front of the main administration building, and it's basically rice crop after rice crop. And in the trials, all the straw is removed after the harvest, and then the next crop is planted. So it's continuous rice growing, rice after rice. And there has been no negative effect on soil fertility by doing that, but all the nutrients that are removed with the straw obviously have to be applied by applying fertilizer. And so in terms of soil organic matter is constant in that fields because you still have the roots and the stubble that you incorporate. So it depends a little bit on your fertilizer regime, I would say. There's no general answer for that. If you reapply all the nutrients that you remove with straw, you remove quite a significant amount. if you remove the straw, then it's sustainable, but you have to be careful about that.
Thank you, Martin. There's a follow-up question here from the previous question from Upas Asna. The question is there commercially available and low-cost straw baler for farmer level? Is there commercially available and low-cost straw baler for farmer level?
Can I?
Yes, Bung.
Yeah. Okay, it depends on for the farmer level. It means that is for the individual household. So at the moment, for the Southeast Asian country, we would recommend the scale for farmer group scale. So it means that is the smallest capacity or size of the baler is around 1.5 hour per hectare. It means that a day it can collect about 5 to 8 tons of about 5 hectares, and it takes about 10 tons of rice straw. So that one is economically, and also the cost of rice straw is acceptable. On principle, we can reduce the capacity of rice straw baler, but because of the labor, because of maintenance, it will not be economically. So we would suggest is the rice straw balers is if we want to have a to reduce rice straw cost of collection and logistics. We should go with the service provider for a farmer groups or the community side, not for the individual small holder. Thank you.
Yes, Hung, thank you for that answer. So that question, by the way, is from Mr. Rickson Ines, a Facebook user. Here's another question from our Facebook user, Mr. Alejandro Bilionso of PCC. I think the question is addressed to PCC. The question is it not recommended for calves aging 4 months old, or should I say on what age of a carabao feed of this kind? All right, I think the question is it not recommended for calves aging 4 months old, or should I say on what age of carabao to feed this kind of feed?
Okay. Okay, Kaling, this is Arnel.
Yes, sir, please go ahead.
Well, thank you for the question. So we recommend feeding UTRS for at least 1 year old. 1 year old when the rumen is fully developed, and start at low level. Don't feed it 100%. Hello?
Yes, sir, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Yeah, yes, my answer is to be safe, we have to feed UTRS when the calf is about 1 year old. At this time, the rumen is fully developed. So there's no problem.
All right, sir. Thank you. Thank you for your answer.
That's the answer.
There is a follow-up question from a ruminant raiser in, I think, in Nueva Ecija, OED. And the question is addressed again to PCC. The question is, can UMTRS be fed to pregnant buffaloes? Can UMTRS be fed to pregnant buffaloes? I think Doc Dan.
Doc Dan,
Yeah.
can you answer?
Yes, again. Yeah. We can feed UTRS to pregnant buffaloes except during the last trimester of pregnancy. So it means up to 6 months. From conception to 6 months of pregnancy, we can feed UTRS. But towards the last trimester of pregnancy, we are not recommending feeding UTRS because the effect of urea in there will may probably affects the developing fetus. That's why last trimester of pregnancy is not recommended to feed UTRS. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Doc Dan and Doc Arnel, for that very straightforward answer. Okay, I understand there are still many questions being posted at Facebook Live and also here at Zoom. And we would like to apologize because we won't be able to entertain any more questions due to time limitations. However, should you still want your questions to be answered, or if you have other concerns, please email us at postharvest@irri.org, and we will direct your queries to the right person. Thank you for your kind understanding. Okay, so we will flash again the email address where you can send your questions if you have other concerns or questions, because we don't have much time anymore. So you can email us at postharvest@irri.org. So we are now nearing the closing of this program. I think it's time now to invite Dr. John Helen, our platform leader of the Sustainable Impact Platform of IRRI, to formally close the event. John?
Thank you very much, Calling. And midday, good afternoon to everyone as of a few seconds ago. Thank you very much, Calling and Martin and team, for organizing a very, very interesting 2-hour webinar. Just a few reflections. I've been with IRRI just over 2 years now, and Martin's group, Mechanization Post-Harvest, sits within the Sustainable Impact Platform. And just after I joined IRRI, literally 3 days after I joined IRRI, I was involved in the opening of a workshop on rice straw management in the Philippines, and I've been following the progress with great interest. We started today with Calling giving some background to the work, and then Martin providing some information on combine harvesters producing more straw, life cycle assessment, the very, very good collaboration with Phil Rice, DA Bar, interesting use of sort of digital tools, Easy Harvest. Martin, you referred to learnings between here and Vietnam and a study tour, sadly no longer possible at the moment with COVID. And also the adaptation of things like the solar bubble dryer for mushrooms, which was originally produced for rice. Fascinating panel, Senator Francis Pangilinan talking, one of the messages I got was again the focus on farmers' well-being. Jonathan Savignano, with his background in livestock, was talking a lot about the ruminant feed. Rinaldo Lantin on the machinery and the straw balers, and fascinating on video about the increase in cultivation going on in the Philippines as a result of COVID, and home gardens and the straw bales for production of crops and herbs. Jean Ballier, my colleague at IRRI, provided some thoughts on prosperity and policy. And then Patrick Cabrera from DA Bar, making the point that we have to ensure that anything around the rice straw management very much dovetails with the strategies of the Philippine government and the Department of Agriculture. Question and answer session, which Calling has pointed out, still many questions are coming in from Facebook users, etc. And I know that he and his colleagues will follow up on some of those answers. Above all, I think it's fascinating to see the rich amount of research that's been done amongst people here in the Philippines. and the great learning that's come out of it. I'm very pleased that Martin pointed out the book that's just come out on rice straw management. First of all, a very reputable publisher, which also always helps with the sort of gravitas, the impact that one can have from these learnings. And perhaps more importantly, it's open access. You can download it. So I'm sure, Martin, you can provide the details for the downloading of your Springer Open Access book. Last but not least, aside from the challenges and what still can and will be done here in the Philippines, I think it's also very important to point out that your work, be it the collaboration between IRRI, Phil Rice, DA Bar, isn't just applicable to here in the Philippines. I know Martin mentioned, and as I said a few moments ago, the learnings that have come from a field visit study tour that was made to Vietnam. There are many other countries in Asia. I'm not going to say Southeast Asia, because actually in this case, I'm thinking about South Asia. Countries like India, which are really grappling with issues around rice straw management. And I know that IRRI has been working and continues to work closely with Indian scientists and government on how rice straw can be managed more effectively. And I tell you that the learnings that you've come up with and the messages and the important research results here in the Philippines are of interest and relevance to our colleagues in South Asia, particularly in India. So I think you should be very proud of the fact that your impact goes well beyond here in the Philippines. Fantastic work that's been done. A lot of very, very pertinent issues that have been raised in this two-hour meeting. Clearly, opportunities and challenges ahead so that we can continue to ensure that rice straw management is done in an effective way sustainably and for the well-being of all Filipino farmers. So it just takes me to thank my colleagues at IRRI for their very hard work, the entire research team, the support of DA Bar, Phil Rice, and I'm looking very much forward to seeing more fascinating applied research coming out of these endeavors. Thank you very much to everyone. Stay safe and sound, and I hope that COVID will soon reduce in severity so that we can next time meet in person. Back to you, Calling.
Thank you, John, for that insight and for your heartwarming message to close this program. Once again, we thank also our panelists for participating in the discussions, and also to our viewers at Facebook Live. And we would like to remind you, if you still have questions or concerns, we can still continue the discussion via Facebook by logging on to the RiceStraw Philippine community on Facebook. Earlier, we also have posted asked the participants to indicate their locations so that we would know the reach of this webinar. Now let us look at the results from Dementi.com. All right, so it shows that this webinar have reached as far as South America in Suriname. Wow. And we also have lots of participants from Nueva Ecija, in the Visayas, in the Central Luzon area, in Bulacan, in the Mindanao area, in Davao City, in Bukidnon, also in India, also in Japan. Wow. What a wide reach of this seminar. Okay. Thanks a lot. Thanks to all our participants and viewers from Facebook from all over the world. And we would like to remind everyone to please do not forget to answer the evaluation form that will be posted on Facebook and we will send to your emails. Also, please stay tuned for next week for our virtual Farmers Field Day on September 29. That is Tuesday. We'll start at 9 a.m. as well, and we will flash the details on this script. And you may also tune in to our Facebook page for further updates. We will see you all again next week. This has been Kaling from the RiceStrawPH team, and we would like to thank you all for attending. We also thank to our bosses, to our supervisors, to John Helen here, to Jean Bollier, to our boss Martin Gumert, and to all our partners from PCC and PhilRice, to Dr. Cesar Tado, Doc Arnel, and Doc Dan, and to all our participants here at Zoom and Facebook Live. See you again next week for the virtual Farmers Field Day. Thank you and bye-bye.
Okay, very good.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye bye.